video production does help students understand their topic and their subject matter, because what they do is they choose their topic and then they take ownership of that, and there's relevance in the assignment and the task at hand. And hence those students then work a little harder. They have the opportunity to research different ideas that have an interest to them. So again, the relevancy is there, the ownership is there, and the work ethic gets vastly improved, and it works a lot better because it's differentiated instruction. They are self-managing themselves as well as their teams, and it's developing their leadership skills and the ability to critically think and problem solve on their own.
Before I started this program, I didn't even take an interest in science really, because I found it really boring. And here it's fun, you're having fun but you're also learning. And yeah, before I joined this program I didn't even know what sustainability was. So now I do, and I try to live more sustainably now.
This is showing an entirely different side of science that I didn't know about. TEK, traditional ecological knowledge, is showing an entirely different side of science that my school doesn't teach. It just shows more the sciencey way, if that's a word.
This workshop will help me in school by showing me how to do shortcuts on a laptop or computer for keyboards. And I have a lot of opportunities ahead of me, and one of them, which I'm sure will be a video making process, and I will be a step ahead of all the other students or people I'm participating with or against.
In an aspect of science-wise, biodiversity, that has a lot to do with the environment, which is a really huge area that they focus on in science. So I'm sure if we showed the video in our science class about, the sustaining families and biodiversity, it might give students an idea of how to sustain their families, basically.
Well, I think there are a number of strengths for this program. First of all, it's highly place-based, and when you take kids and put them in their own place and let them celebrate the knowledge of their communities, it's very powerful. This program also is very collaborative in nature. Students are using critical thinking, they're communicating with each other, they're being highly creative, and they're producing a product that's going to be shared with the public. And when you share a product with the public, it increases the rigor and the overall gains that the students make. So it's a great project and a great program.
I think it'll help me with premier leadership, learning a lot of leadership kind of from this program, and kind of learning about the culture of Belize and more about the Menominee culture too. I think it'll also help me with career success, with working with technology and just all the aspects of the whole program, kind of in meeting new people, making connections, I guess you could say, in a sense, and kind of getting to feel what college might be in a sense.
When Justin's wife came in to teach us how to research and stuff, that kind of helped certainly both of us for college and stuff, because we have to research for papers and stuff, and the way that she narrowed everything down probably gives a finer search for the stuff that we're looking for. So that would be a great skill that we would have in the future. So that's very helpful, and also the way that the methods that we use to kind of present projects and stuff, the way we're editing videos and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting, and I feel it's something that we could recommend to our teachers to do for class projects.
Even the not technical stuff, it really helps, because with the group building that we're doing, we're really learning a lot, and it's even broadens our horizons a lot, considering that we went here, we went there, we interviewed all these people here and there, and we're learning of all the different people all over the world.
I like how it's really hands-on, and at my school the stuff we do is all in the classroom, with our textbooks and stuff like that.
We're still operating today, we're still operating off of curriculum, the education standards of the past 100 years. Still utilizing pen and paper, which is great in some sense, in the traditional sense, in a traditionalist's viewpoint, but as with everything, life evolves, and so should the education system, but it hasn't evolved. So as the education system evolves, the technology evolves as well, and you need that thought process to also evolve with it. So these students are learning 5 times the amount of knowledge that their biology or their teachers know in their classrooms that they'll be returning to come the fall time.
Yeah, this whole experience in general can help me with a lot of stuff because, you know, when we were in Belize, we had to do like a lot of public speaking, and, you know, from the beginning of this whole thing, you had to talk and interact with strangers, and that's going to help me a lot with my social skills, and it really helped me improve it and everything, and it like kind of just made me a generally like, you know, sociable and like happy person, I guess. So I think that's what I took from this whole experience in general.
Since technology is becoming more updated and we're seeing all these new processes and procedures on technologies and how they work, and our school, well, my school has online textbooks, workshop kind of classes, and with this workshop we're doing here today, it will help me figure out like the keyboard shortcuts, and I can show other students or like other teachers, and just
Sometimes it's difficult for us to be open-minded about changing our approach in teaching. Oftentimes we look at the limitations, not having the same quality of equipment, etc. But we're getting things like iPads, and you can still do some video editing with those kinds of things. The key thing here is, and the hardest things for teachers, is to step back and become a facilitator rather than the person just putting out all the information. Getting kids to start asking their own questions, having kids become reflective about what they're learning, and seeking out knowledge on their own and encouraging them to do those things. So it has a place in all our instructions, not just in science, not just in environmental, not just in technology, but across the curriculum.
I think it'll help them. I think it would have helped me had I been given this opportunity. Just the looking up resources and kind of understanding the importance of having solid research and having credible sources for your work. Something that I didn't really understand until I was in college. So getting that in high school, I think, is a big plus. You get to be one jump ahead of everyone else. And just opening up your mind to a different way of thinking when you go and travel to a different place. That's really interesting. And also with learning a new language when you're learning things in like digital media and that kind of art form, it's really interesting to see the different part of your brain kind of come alive when you start learning that kind of thing. So I think it'll be really interesting.
Technology and how to teach nowadays. Everything right now, as you look around, internet, phones, news, camera, everything's getting high tech, everything's electronic now, everything's all on the web or online. So how I say how this is going to help the students nowadays, well, look at everything. Everything's evolving. Teaching, we're not teaching out of books anymore, we're teaching off of iPads, computers. So the way as history goes, we got to evolve with everything else. So yeah, I said, yeah, recording, making videos, recording on Natural Geographic or doing nature, science, yeah, it helps out better. It's like more hands-on and everything. Plus, you get to adapt with everything that's going on now. So yeah, I said, making videos, doing podcasts, doing webcasts, anything like that, yeah, it helps out a lot better. It gives you more hands-on. Plus, it's also good too, because anywhere you go, everything's doing about media, webcam, online, so it's good that too. So it's everywhere.
It's really time for our educators to be at that level, if not surpass that level. Because currently we're saturated. The education system is saturated with a lot of teachers with outdated knowledge, and they don't have the time to go back to class and get that certification, that training in this type of technology. So it's time for that new wave of educators to come in, the younger, more current, technologically efficient generation.
I think it helped them a lot, like learning how to use Final Cut Pro and like everything else, give them a more like better understanding of technology, I guess.
Maybe that's kind of like what limits us too in schools, because they don't really know what they're doing with the technology.
Adding technology into our curriculum is sometimes tough to do because we're blocked by not having certain resources available. That's where a teacher has to get creative and be open-minded about adding things in. Even using an iPad instead of a higher tech camera, it still is doable. And we have those kinds of resources coming into our schools right now.
you know, for the past, 50, 60 years, we've been American Indian communities and tribal communities, American Indian, Alaskan Native communities have been less than 1% of the population in the U.S. And so through mainstream media and through mainstream technologies, we're being misrepresented via, you know, Blackhawks, Redskins, you know, sports teams. Most people know about American Indians, Alaskan Natives, you know, indigenous people through, you know, appropriation of culture. But we also have this amazing ability and this amazing opportunity through technology to reclaim our identities and really use things such as this workshop and other things like that to really represent ourselves the way that we would like to be known as today. We're not just American Indians, we're not just indigenous people, you know, we're Ojibwe, or Oneida, we're Seneca, we're Menominee. You know, we have, you know, hundreds of tribes, hundreds of identities. And it's really time for us to reclaim that through empowerment.